should transgender athletes compete in girls' sports? A recent Supreme Court ruling says states can ban them from competing in school and college sports teams. Some Republican lawmakers want Connecticut to have that ban. Your chief political reporter, Susan Raff, is live in Hartford to explain. Susan.
Stephanie, the law in Connecticut is pretty clear. The law does protect transgender athletes, and transgender athletes can participate in sports with women and girls. But there are some Republican lawmakers and even some parents who feel that girls are at a big disadvantage and that a ban would level the playing field. Christy Mitchell wants to keep trans athletes from competing with girls. She and a group of other Connecticut parents have filed a federal lawsuit.
Well, it was so unfair and just blatantly wrong to force young girls to line up at the line against male athletes.
She's fighting for her daughter Chelsea, a track athlete who she says was denied chances to win championships and scholarships because of two transgender athletes.
She was only 14 the first time she had to compete against a male. And she went on to have to compete against two male athletes all throughout her high school career.
Today, Christy and Chelsea's younger sister joined Republican lawmakers to support a ban on transgender athletes.
Our schools need to insist that it is females playing in women's sports. It's a very easy concept. Fairness is not hate. Truth is not discrimination, and we need to protect our girls.
The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled states can have a ban. These lawmakers and parents want Connecticut to do just that. The lawsuit is against the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference, which governs high school sports. They say CIAC has consistently held that its policies align with applicable state and federal law and will continue to do so. But Representative Sarah Kitt feels a ban would discriminate against trans athletes. And as a parent of a trans child, she says hormone therapy helps level the playing field.
They have lost the advantage of the testosterone. The hormones. They've lost any competitive advantage having testosterone, an elevated level of testosterone would give them.
Now, since the U.S. Supreme Court made their ruling at the end of last month, 27 states now have implemented some sort of a ban on transgender athletes. And Republican lawmakers say they plan to push for a ban when the legislature convenes at the beginning of next year. Your chief political reporter, Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News, live in Hartford tonight.
Susan, thank you.